Hello, my name is Derek. Welcome to Talking to Fitness People. I'm here with Fitness representing Unify, and I want to talk about the comment I received by Meg Ryan. And it's on a video in which I discuss how cognitive functions affect how you learn music and such. And they're all great comments. She has really good insight. But there's one thing she says that I want to take exception with, and I want to talk about it because I think it's something that annoys the shit out of me. She says, typical midlife crisis issues. I thought I was going through life figuring all this shit out, and when I look back, I see I haven't, and I can't go back and fix it or relive it. Well, there's certainly plenty of truth in that part that says, I thought I was going through life figuring all this shit out. Well, not that part, really. I never really thought I was figuring it out. I just thought I was failing. And when I look back, see I haven't, and I can't go back and fix it or relive it. Well, that part, I can't go back and fix it or relive it, is significant for sure. But the exception I take is this word midlife crisis. I fucking hate that. I cannot stand that expression. Because first of all, I interpret this very differently. It's not like I was doing it wrong, and then finally I was like, oh no, I'm doing it wrong. And I have to scramble to catch up to fix something. It's more like this. Finally, I got rid of all the wrong stuff. You know, it's not. I'm not going through a crisis. I'm arriving at a destination called relative unencumberedness. And in fact, because I'm relatively unencumbered, I can do what I want most of the time. And so, as one of the things I want to do is I want to make better the parts of myself that are unclear to me. And an important thing for me in doing that is having an SI mechanism beyond my own brain. And I find it tragic and appalling that I grew up in a time where I don't have videos. I find it tragic and appalling that I haven't been making Talking with Famous People since I was 3 years old.
Right.
That is not a midlife crisis. That's a finally being high enough up on the mountain to see. By high enough up on the mountain, I mean clear of your own wreckage, basically. Because remember, I was a drunk for many years. And I finally get out of that mess, and I can look around, and I go, oh, cool. Finally, I can make some good decisions and see some of my visions for life, for what used to be just sort of like daydreams, kind of stuff I'd like to do maybe. I can actually do some of that stuff now. And it's because, mostly it's because you build up a certain amount of legitimacy over the course of your life. And so when it reaches a certain critical mass, people start to give you credit they didn't give you before. Or at least that's my experience. Unify, you
Well,
got
I
any
mean,
thoughts
you're
on this?
expressing yourself, right?
Yeah, I know. I am expressing myself. A lot of people
That's a
see that
good
as
thing, right?
I think it is. A lot of people say it as a midlife crisis because it's like, oh, you're trying to be a kid again. What do you think about that critique?
Nah. I mean, who you are is who you are, no matter what age, right?
I agree with you there. And I'll tell you, Unify, I have not changed much since I was 17 years old, or 16 years old, or whatever. There's this article or story, or whatever you want to call it, I don't even know what you call it. It's a piece of absurd writing that I wrote for the high school newspaper, which is just like, basically, it's just like the same humor I have now. It's exactly the same. It's called, How to Be Perfect. And then I just list a bunch of like offensively ridiculous statements. So like it begins with, first of all, you have to be a dude. Like chicks are incapable of being perfect because they're too emotional. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's move forward. That was published in my high school newspaper, and it's all about how you should go like kill animals and drive really fast and smoke and stuff like that.
Take a risk.
Yeah, it's just me being shock value-y. It's one of
Right.
the traits of the ENTP that we tend to be a little shock value-y. Well, my midlife crisis isn't that like oh, I shouldn't have been so shock value-y. It's more like, oh, I'm glad I understand things better now about how and when and how sparingly to use that sort of stuff, and when it's just the opposite of what you want it to do. And like, I just have a clearer understanding of the FE components of it, I think.
Hmm. So it's understanding yourself enough in order to use what you know and have what you didn't used to have, right?
Right. I think that's a good way to put it. Understanding yourself enough to use what you have is exactly right. Because I think that a lot of times I would be using things. I wouldn't. I would use tools for the sake of using them rather than for any particular end.
Right.
Like, well, I'm good at using this tool, so I'll be argumentative. you know,
Hmm.
that's not a good reason to be argumentative. So anyway, the whole point of this short video, I guess it'll be, is about the word crisis. I am not going through a crisis. I'm undergoing a liberation. That's the opposite of a crisis. In fact, I've mostly undergone it. I think everybody is always going to carry around an ongoing sort of spiritual maintenance battle where they have to check themselves for fear-driven stuff and just mistakes that you make because of your nature. And my nature
Right.
is a very mistake-prone nature. So I have to, it took me a long time to even understand what mindfulness was, let alone be able to attempt it, let alone be able to occasionally maybe pull it off for 5 minutes.
Extroverted, right?
I sure am.
And so you had to do in order to know.
Is that how it works with extroverts? You have to do in order
I
to know?
feel. Well, I feel like it.
I've never
I
heard
could
that
be wrong.
before. I mean, I think it's a very insightful thing to say. I just haven't ever heard it before. That's interesting. Let me think about it. I should also put these headphones on so we don't get that echoey thing. Extroverts have to do in order to know. Well, I think extroverts need more need the observation of others to make things real for them. I think I can know things that don't become real until it's observed by others. It's still just stuck in a state of potentiality as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So it's an interesting point because it's like I think I do all the work of knowing things internally or while like right now talking it out loud, but that it's most known when it's recorded on video, and second most known if it's like spoken out loud, and least most known if it's kept inside my head.
Hmm.
Any other thoughts on midlife crises before we draw this video to a close?
Well, no, I just hope I get to do everything I want to do before I get before I start to look like you, I guess.
How old are you? Are you over 30?
Nah, I'm 24.
All right, you got a lot of time left, right? You got a lot of time to do shit.
Hmm.
And look, I mean, you got to remember this also. Let's end this video. I'll talk to you for a second off the video. Thank you for watching Talking with Famous People.